Now, with every mining project comes with a concern to protect the environment, because we are going to drill the ground. It means that it's going to pose some dangers on the environment. So we need to also consider environmental and safety considerations. So it identifies any potential environmental or safety risk which can be associated with the drilling program. So we need to look at it. How can this project pose dangers on the environment? When we see the dangers it can pose on the environment, then we need to also devise strategies or better ways or controls that will help us to mitigate these risks. Okay, very, very important. Data management. It describes the method that will be used to manage and store the data obtained from the drilling program. What we are interested in is the information. So after we have obtained the information, how are we going to manage this information? How are we going to store it? So it's very, very important. And report requirement. It outlines the reporting requirement for the exploration program. Okay. What we are dealing with is capital intensive. Okay, so we need to know how to save our data and also report. Mostly there is a standard for reporting such data or such information, because after we are done, we need to know the kind of information we had. Does it qualify to describe the ore body as either an inferred or a measured or a probable ore body or mineral? Okay, so we need to be able to categorize this in our report. Okay. Now, after we are done with the exploration plan, it must then be reviewed by all stakeholders. So the stakeholders who are involved in the exploration project should be given copies. Then they will review it, approve it before the work can begin. So most of the time, government agencies must go through the plan. Local communities, because they can be affected by the project. Okay, and other interested parties, maybe investors, they must all go through and they can make their final decision either to approve it or to disapprove it for the project can begin. Now let's look at exploration targets. In core drilling, an exploration target refers to a specific area or formation that is of interest to exploration geologists and mining companies. So the place where we are going to do our drilling is what we call the exploration target. The land or the what we call the prospect in elementary mining, we call it a prospect. That is the land of interest where we are undertaking the drilling, exploration drilling. Okay, so it's a specific area or formation that is of interest to exploration geologists and mining companies. Okay, the goal of drilling core samples is in exploration target is to determine the geology and mineralogy of the area. We want to know, we want to have some geological information of the area. Okay, so with the geological information and the mineralogy of the area, we can be able to assess the potential for economic mineral deposits. Okay, the geological information we obtain will help us to determine the kind of mineral we are dealing with. Okay, it will tell us how many, what are the minerals that are present within the formation, and also the geological information. Sometimes you can get to know the hardness of the rock, the computation of the rock, the geological structures within the rock. So it will give us a hint of the kind of rock formation we are dealing with, okay, and how to also prepare to exploit such a rock formation. Okay, exploration targets are typically identified through a combination of geological geophysical and geochemical surveys. Okay, so geologists must be there, geophysical guys must be there, and geochemical guys. So geological survey is we searching for minerals on the surface. Okay, so A is based on the surface, and geophysical is we searching for the mineral within the subsurface, beneath the surface. Okay, and in this case, we can be applying some physical techniques like electromagnetic waves or seismic waves, or we can deal with gravitational pull. Okay, these are some of the physical techniques that we can apply in geophysical sciences. Okay, with the geological survey, we just make use of outcrop searches on the surface. We just search. We can even make use of geological maps searching on the surface, or we can even dig trenches on the surface just in search of minerals. And geochemical survey is when we take analysis, we take samples to the lab and analyze them for the presence of some chemicals, because some minerals go alongside with some certain chemicals, and some minerals, we know how they behave when they come into contact with certain chemicals. So we can test of their presence in certain rock samples. When we test for their presence in the rock samples and they are present there, you will know by the chemical analysis that we take on them, either they are present or not. Okay, so these are ways of finding the presence of a mineral through the rocks and samples that we take from exploration drilling. We can also make use of geological maps. I've already talked about it, and satellite imagery can be used to identify areas with specific rock formations or structures that are associated with mineral deposits. So it's not just physical search for the minerals on the surface that can be used. Sometimes you can even make use of satellite imageries. The satellite imageries can give us a hint of how some rock structures has been formed in certain areas. Or we can also make use of sometimes we can make use of the way plants grow in certain areas can give us a hint of the mineralizations, the minerals within such an area. In Ghana here, we can, most of the times, cocoa farms are being used when people are searching for gold in certain areas. So most of the time they consider cocoa farms, and it's because they have studied to know, okay, when the cocoa farm behave like this, it means that there can be a presence of a gold bearing material in that area. Okay, so we can study the environment to give a prediction of the presence of a mineral in such an area. With those physical surveys, I've already talked about it. When we look at electromagnetic surveys, it can detect the presence of minerals because of the electrical field or the magnetic field that surrounds the presence of a gold bearing material. Okay, so when there is a mineral in a particular kind of rock formation, the electrical field or the magnetic field of that area changes. So when we have a device that is using an electromagnetic wave or a magnetic wave, or even sometimes radio wave or say a seismic wave, it can detect the presence of such minerals within such formations. Okay, and with the geochemical surveys, because it deals with the use of chemicals or the analysis, finding out the presence of chemicals within rock samples, we can apply it in the oil and gas industry. Okay, because we are looking for the presence of hydrocarbons. And so when we perform analysis of hydrocarbons within certain rock samples and they are present, it will be able to know. And even not only in the oil and gas industry, we can also apply it in the mining industry. Okay, so it's very, very important because some minerals actually have a chemical presence, and when they interact with other chemicals, we can know they are present, whether they are present or not.